In a surprising twist that has the global oil industry buzzing, India is now turning away from its long bargain bin supplier, Russia, and increasingly eyeing Africa's biggest oil giant, Nigeria, as a major crude source. And we're not talking small change here. By late 2025, over 2 million barrels of Nigerian oil will have made their way to Indian shores, with projections suggesting that if this momentum continues, we could be looking at tens of millions of barrels annually in the coming years. That's billions of dollars flowing from Asia's second most populous country straight into West Africa's largest economy. But the real story isn't just about barrels and dollars. It's about geopolitics, shifting alliances, and Africa finally catching a lucky break in the messy global oil chess game. So why the sudden oil romance between New Delhi and Abuja? Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, India has been one of the few major economies happy to lap up Moscow's heavily discounted oil, ignoring the West's sanctions and pocketing the savings. That cozy arrangement worked just fine until Donald Trump returned to the White House and made it clear that in his America, buying Russian oil was a bad look. The political pressure has been relentless, with Washington urging New Delhi to diversify away from Russian barrels. And when America leans in, even a giant like India listens. By July 2025, Indian state refiners had quietly stopped purchasing Russian crude, a decision that sent them scrambling to the global market in search of reliable alternatives. The buying spree that followed was nothing short of frantic. Millions of barrels were snapped up from the United States, Angola, Abu Dhabi, and significantly, Nigeria. The Indian Oil Corporation locked in a deal for 1 million barrels of Nigerian Agbami crude through Trafigura for September delivery. Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited made its own spot purchases, adding to the tally. And by the end of September and October, at least 2 million barrels of Nigerian crude were locked in for India. But that's just the opening act. If this partnership sticks, the volumes will almost certainly balloon. Why Nigeria though? For starters, the country is Africa's undisputed oil powerhouse, producing roughly 1.4 to 1.5 million barrels per day, which translates to over 500 million barrels a year in recent output averages. Nigerian crude grades like Agbami are priced for their low sulfur content, making them perfect for India's refineries, which churn out vast quantities of gasoline and diesel not just for its own 1.4 billion people, but also for export. When you've got the world's largest democracy and one of the fastest growing economies breathing down your supply line, you need a source that can deliver volume, quality, and consistency. Nigeria ticks all those boxes. Now let's talk about India's hunger for oil. With a population set to surpass China's and a rapidly expanding middle class, India's crude consumption is eye-watering, over 5 million barrels per day, and that number isn't going down anytime soon. If Nigeria manages to secure even a modest slice of that pie for years to come, the revenue could transform the country's finances. We are talking billions flowing in annually. If, and it's a big if, those billions are invested wisely, the impact on Nigerian infrastructure, healthcare, education, and job creation could be seismic, not just for Nigeria, but for the African continent at large. Imagine an oil deal that actually trickles down to ordinary citizens instead of evaporating into the pockets of a few elites. Sounds almost too good to be true, right? But that's the beauty and danger of geopolitics. Wars, sanctions, Political elections and shifting alliances can flip trade flows on their head overnight, creating opportunities for some and disasters for others. In this case, Russia's loss might just be Nigeria's golden ticket. And make no mistake, other African nations should be taking notes. In a volatile global market, positioning yourself as a go-to supplier when major economies are forced to pivot can be game-changing. Nigeria didn't create the Ukraine crisis. It didn't lobby Trump into pressuring India, yet it stands to gain massively because it was ready to meet the demand when the moment came. Of course, every player in this drama has their own perspective. For India, this is about securing enough energy to keep its growth engine roaring while avoiding the diplomatic headaches that come with Russian crude. For Nigeria, it's a chance to deepen ties with one of the world's largest economies and lock in a steady lucrative customer, something every oil exporter dreams about. For Russia, it's an uncomfortable reminder that even your loyal buyers can drift away when the political heat gets too high. For America, it's a strategic win. Proof that its pressure tactics can reroute global supply chains to starve Moscow of petrodollars. And for other countries that used to rely heavily on Russian oil, think Turkey, China, and some EU states before the ban, it's both a cautionary tale and a nudge to diversify supply sources fast and perhaps consider Nigeria as a new supplier. Furthermore, if this India-Nigeria oil partnership holds, it could evolve into one of the most significant trade relationships between Africa and Asia in decades. And it underscores a larger truth. Africa doesn't always have to be the passive recipient in global trade. Sometimes the world comes knocking on our door, and we just have to make sure we answer wisely. The question now is whether Nigeria can turn this windfall into real lasting change. Will billions in new oil revenue be invested in diversifying the economy, upgrading roads and ports, building refineries, and improving the lives of citizens? Or will it simply fatten offshore bank accounts and perpetuate the same old cycle of wealth without development? India is making a calculated move to secure its future energy needs. Nigeria now has a chance to do the same, not just for itself, but for Africa's role in global economy. In the end, this isn't just a story about two countries trading oil. It's a glimpse into how quickly the global order can shift and how, in the cracks and chaos of geopolitics, opportunities are born. For Nigeria, the door is open. For Africa, the lesson is clear. The world will always need what we have. The only question is, when the world comes calling, will we be ready to take full advantage? Your perspective matters. What do you make of Nigeria becoming a new key supplier of crude oil to India? Share your thoughts and insights in the comment section below. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the new Africa channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our informative future videos. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thank you for watching.